Hey, thanks for coming out to Mayor's Night Out, Philistine Center, Hammond's 3rd District. Thank you very much. I want to let you know that this is being aired live on Go Hammond TV right now. So when we have questions come up from the audience, if the Special Events Coordinator, Ms. Donna Muta, comes up to you with a microphone and holds it in your face, it's only because we can hear you fine, but we want to make sure that it gets on Go Hammond TV so that the audience that's watching on Go Hammond TV can hear it also. So anyway, welcome to the Philistine Center for Mayor's Night Out for April in the 3rd District. I'd like to introduce your host, Councilman Anthony Higgs.
First of all, I would like to say thank you all for coming out to Philistine Health and Service Center. If you're not familiar with the Health and Service Center here where we're sitting at, it is a vital part of our community. With the resources that we're giving to make this become a reality, I'm so extremely proud of it, and I just thank God that I was a part of that vision. And some of the people that went on, Ms. Cherry, which is no longer with us, and of course Mr. Walker, Paul Walker was involved in the process, Mr. Collins, and a number of people from within the community. So it's really it makes me excited just to be here for Mayor's Night Out. But again, thank you all for coming out, and always know that I'm here for you, and I will always work to make the 3rd District better for all the residents of the city of Hammond. God bless.
Thank you, Councilman Higgs. All right, we're going to go ahead, and I introduced Ms. Donna Muta earlier. I'd like to get started. First off, I want to thank the elected officials in attendance. I've seen a few, and I know they got to probably pop in and pop out, especially this one, who's been very busy, is our Lake County Sheriff, Oscar Martinez. Thank you very much, Sheriff Martinez. Good to see you. I want to go through Hammond elected officials that are here. I got Hammond City Clerk, Robert Golick. Thank you very much, Clerk Golick. Hammond Councilman at Large, Robert Markovich. Thank you very much, Councilman. Hammond Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. Thank you very much, Councilman. Our Council President, Janet Venez. Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Now I'm going to guess. I'm usually pretty good at this. I know the 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson's here. Thank you very much, Councilman. Second, 3rd. And then, of course, 3rd District Councilman Anthony Higgs. Thank you very much, Councilman. All right. I don't see anybody else, so I'll introduce them as they come. Donna, why don't we go ahead and give the microphone to our department heads.
Awana Miller, Community Development.
Timothy Woods, Public Works.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Ann Anderson, Economic Development.
Amanda Oswald's Housing Authority.
Dennis Radowski, United Neighborhoods, Inc.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff. John Doty, Police Department.
Anthony Higgs, 3rd District Council.
Heather Gray, City Controller.
Kevin Smith, Mayor's Office, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Parks Department as well.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Chris Cantar, Law Department.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Chris Sakalaris, Legal Aid.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Ed Caruso, Hammond Water.
Sharon Daniels, Personnel and College Bound.
Donna Muta, Special Events, and Mayor. We also have Milo Krasinski on a mic and Marty Wilgos on a mic.
Wow. Right, because they couldn't fit at the table?
I recruited them so we can move and groove.
Oh,
We were here early, Mayor.
That's awesome. So we have these beautiful people that'll come up to you with their microphones. I want to remind you all that this is being aired live on Go Hammond TV. It will be archived. Thank you very much for coming out. In particular, I want to thank Miss Albertine Dent for working with us to make the Philistine available. Could you give her a big round of applause? Ms. Dent? And today we are gonna go through a presentation in regards to proposals for the Martin Luther King Park in regards to what we're gonna do with the current layout with the pool and all that. We hired a firm to look at this, and to give you a little background, the City Hammond public pools were closed last year, all 4 of them across the city, for a number of deficiencies that had to be corrected immediately. There's a proposal now to renew 3 of the pools, to repurpose 3 of the pools, and make it so that we have one outdoor public pool in the city of Hammond. So we're going through the process now of going through each of the parks. Edison Park was the first mayor's night out, and coincidentally for us, it was the fastest one that was going through. Edison Pool is being shut down. That park is being repurposed. In fact, I think the park is closed down now. It's completely fenced off. It's going to be like that for most of this year, and we imagine Edison Park will be up and running hopefully by October-ish, and it'll be completely redesigned. MLK is moving fast, which is good news also, being that Mayor's Night Out is here. So we're coming out here to talk to you. And we're going to sort of follow the same format we did in the 4th District when we did Edison Park. This is our proposal. This is what we're thinking about. This is not concrete plan. If there is a good idea that comes from the audience, like happened at Edison Pool, like in Pulaski Park, a lot of stuff was coming from the audience, and it made sense. We can't think of everything, and if you come up with a better idea, or if you're opposed to something, this is a proposal. So this is the proposal we're talking about. We hired a firm from Hammond to do this. This firm is called Nice Engineering. It's located actually right over by Purdue Northwest. I got Mr. Chris Moore from Nice Engineering here. Chris, where are you? Oh, there you are. Hey, Chris. And Chris and Nice decided to bring in a consultant to help them along with this. So this other firm coming in called Planning Resources Incorporated out of Wheaton, they're an integrated team of landscape architects, ecologists, and natural resource planners with park design experience throughout the Midwest. Here on behalf of Planning Resources Incorporated is Daryl Garrison, Steve Hallberg, Bob Collins, Joe Murphy, and Tony Casagnoli. So can we give them all a big round of applause as well? I'm going to go ahead and go into this proposal, if you don't mind. I think either Chris or Daryl are going to be leading it. Chris, is that it? Oh, hey, Daryl, how's it going? So Daryl's going to go ahead and go through the proposal. And if you don't mind, once we get through the proposal, then we'll talk about, if you have better ideas, if you're completely opposed to something, this would be the opportunity. So if you don't mind, we'll let Daryl go ahead and go through the presentation, and then we'll talk about it at the conclusion, okay? Thank you very much. Nice to see you, sir.
Good evening. How's everybody? I can't think of a better place to be on a wintry April night than here listening to a design for Martin Luther King Park. As the mayor mentioned, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Daryl Garrison, Principal and Director of Landscape Architecture with Planning Resources. Yes, we are a suburban suburban Chicago park planning firm, and planning is not just in our name, it's what we do. We consider ourselves, we're award-winning park planners is who we are. And we're pleased to be here tonight to, one, talk about this particular design and present this master concept plan to you for the redevelopment and repurposing of the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. The mayor's already introduced our team, and I want you to know that the 4 individuals that did come along with me, we're very proud of them. They're the most creative landscape architect, park planners that we believe in the Midwest. They've assisted us, as I mentioned before, in award-winning proposals and designs. And the reason they're here is because the final result, the end result of this plan, is a collaborative effort of each one of the landscape architects. Each one of them have taken a part in it because, again, we're very proud of the individuals that we have on our team and on our staff. So this design that you will see tonight is a collective effort of creative ideas. We've been working very closely, as he mentioned, with the City of Hammond Park staff and Nice Engineering in the development of this master plan, and we're very excited to present this plan to you on tonight. We recognize the significance and the importance of this project and what it means to you, the residents of Hammond, and more importantly, the 3rd District. We recognize also and can identify with the sensitivity and the sense of pride, the sense of ownership that this site has and means to you, the community. We all know Dr. King stood for what? Racial equality, but he also was equally vocal about principles of freedom, justice, tolerance, and equality. So this master plan as presented tonight, this design incorporates many of these principles that not only define Dr. King's dream, but exemplifies the country and the city of Hammond's noblest principles. So with that, I'm going to have Bob from our office talk about the design site amenities. Bob.
Thank you, Daryl. And wanted to briefly go over some of the design concepts that are included in this, the design program and the final design concept. We're going to take a quick look at the plans, and then we're going to show a video that is kind of an animation and walkthrough of the proposed improvements. First of all, of course, one of the main things we wanted to do was honor Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy throughout the park site. And we believe when you see what we're proposing and what we worked out with town staff that we accomplished this. Some of the key goals, though, of course, it is a park, an active park, and we wanted to promote and keep those elements alive in the park, including a fitness station. This is a fitness loop for adult fitness. It could be also multi-generational family use. Expand the basketball complex. It's a site that is known for basketball, and we wanted to expand and promote that. Do some Tapper Avenue improvements, including defining crosswalks and trying to unify the park, because right now the park is kind of designated or separated by Tapper Avenue, and we felt that we could do some things in the design to unify it that way. And then creating a splash pad as a centerpiece of this design. We still wanted to have water as a play element. It's important to the community. It's important to the active play in this site. And we wanted this to be the primary feature, the focal point of the design. Improve the playground, and also then have some kind of a memorial marker type walkway, and we'll talk a little bit about the concept we had for that. And then improve the pathways throughout, and improve the existing shelter and do some minor improvements on the east end to kind of unify the full design. So with that, in the design concept, the items featured, we got the fitness loop, a basketball complex, Tapper Avenue improvements, the Freedom Plaza, which is the main entrance in the announcement of you're entering the main portion of Martin Luther King Park, the splash pad, the mountaintop splash pad, which there we use some of the elevation that exists. We thought it was a natural link to the very famous speech by Dr. King that'll be commemorated at the Mountaintop Plaza, and this is the jumping off point for then an undulating flowing splash pad down to grade. Playground improvements with the Dream Playground, which will then focus on his other very famous speech. And then the Memorial Walk markers will be incorporated throughout with a shelter, pavilion, Memorial Walk, just Memorial Walk markers, and a Memorial Plaza and Unity patio. Just a concept there at the end on the east end to unify the small shelter and the main shelter and bring that concept of unity into the design on the east end. So with that, we'll just take a quick talk about the markers, because these were difficult to show. On a plan of this size, a long, linear, over 10-acre park site, it's hard to show the markers and get any impact in a plan. So I just wanted to briefly cover what a concept we're doing there, or proposing here. With some of the other elements, you'll see the mountaintop and the Dream Playground. We got things that are focusing on Dr. King himself, his inspirational words and speeches. What we wanted to do with the markers was look at people that were inspirational to Dr. King. So these are roughly 10 markers. It may be 11, it may be 9. We'll have to work them out around. Will commemorate people that were influential in his life. That's the concept that we had for that. So, okay, Joe. This is the west end. So this has the basketball complex and the fitness loop. It's about a quarter-mile loop. We have an enclosed loop. What we did was had a loop for walking trails on each side, and then they're connected, and you can see there the Tapper Avenue connections, not only at each end, but also right in the middle, which will link over to go ahead the central area, which has the Freedom Plaza and a main entry archway, and you'll see that in the animation. And then we use the grade that's existing out there to go up 4 and then 5 and ultimately 6 feet above street grade is where the Mountaintop Plaza is, and then that leads over to the splash pad. The shelter is elevated slightly at 3.5 feet above in this proposal to get kind of an elevated deck for picnicking where you can interact with the splash pad and then interact with the playground area. The Dream Playground then is in roughly the same area where the existing play area is, and also has a small shelter. And then we preserved some open play space. We felt this was important to the park. You can see then the pathway and a drop-off loop, which is connected to the playground on Lyons. And then go ahead to on the east end, then we closed the loop inside the park rather than having it go out to Columbia. We felt that this would keep that walking trail inside the park as more of a, you're in the park or you're exiting the park. If you're on the trail, you're still in the park. Small memorial plaza and the Unity patio there. And this side is roughly a half mile. So you can get a half-mile loop on the larger side, a quarter-mile loop on the inner side, and those could be, of course, identified. Okay, then, Joe, if you want to go ahead, we have the video that we'll show you. This video starts at the west end. So we'll see it here in a second with a summary of the whole site. So there's the streets, and because then we have the fitness loop, the basketball complex, Tapper Avenue, then the Freedom Plaza, the spray area, the playground, and those are the markers throughout the site. And I'll just let this run.
This is all brand new, this part right here.
Right, so this fitness
Where the
loop,
current softball field is.
right, the backstop will be removed, this will be an open turf area, it'll still be open play, pickup games and things. And then this is that fitness loop. There's like a circular basketball tree area, then the main basketball complex, 2 half courts, 2 full courts proposed. A main walkway through the center, and here we come into Freedom Plaza, an identifying entry arch, paved plaza area, seating, an LA of trees leading up to the memorial wall. This will be an 8-foot high wall with inspirational quotes from Dr. King. It'll be accessed then from stairs or from an accessible pathway up to 4 feet. 5 feet, then you see the Mountaintop Plaza and the splash pad kind of moving down the slope with some, what we wanted to do here was not have big giant play features, it's actually spray features. And then this is a view from the Valley Plaza looking up to the Mountaintop Plaza with the splash. Then moving out here, this is the Dream Playground. And then moving to the east end where there's a Memorial Plaza, Unity patio, kind of uniting those 2 existing shelters on the east end. So with that, we open it up to any questions.
Great job. Whoa, I got 2 microphones. All right, I'll go back onto this one. All right, let's go ahead and we'll talk about some proposals. So the new stuff really, if you remember the end of the park, the west end of the park that's closest to City Hall parking lot, where the current, it's underutilized, that part of the park, we added a workout area, basically. It's similar to what we're doing in Columbia Park. It's and something I remember seeing in China. A lot of places where you go in China, it's funny, they have these little workout areas that are in the public, and people go every morning and they go work out on them, and they're really heavy duty and durable, so they're, sustainable to the elements. So that whole area over there is new. We're adding a 3rd basketball court, so to speak. It's 2 half courts, because right now the way it is, it's really 2 of them are off center, basically. There's easily room for 2 more half courts, which is what we're going to do next to it. So it'll be 3 courts going across the width of MLK Park. And then the basketball tree, which I don't know if you really got to look at that. It's a really cool idea. It's a circle court with 1 tree up in the middle and multiple baskets on it. Some of them are low for the little kids, and they get higher and higher, and you can shoot at it from multiple angles. The basketball tree, we're putting that sort of between the workout area and the 3 courts. So that'll be over there. Then you get to Tapper. We're going to make it so that it's sort of elevated a little bit, right? It's
Well, there'll be some elevated, and then the crosswalks will have a further elevation.
Right.
Fine.
slow the traffic down.
Right. When you're driving through, you'll know you're kind of entering
Right.
a different space.
And then you get into the MLK Plaza, which is pretty magnificent. I mean, that's the thing about MLK Park. We have one little plaque about Martin Luther King, and it was installed actually, Councilman Higgs and I did it. It's on the very east end of the park. This proposal makes this park about Martin Luther King. It brings up inspirational quotes, it talks about his life and legacy, and then you get up onto the elevated part where the pool currently sits, and it's gonna be more of a splash pad. And I dare say, it's gonna be used a lot more when it's all said and done. I think this park will be vibrant, it'll be new. Instead of losing money like we were doing in our pools, big amounts of money, I think, you know, once we build this, we already got the money set aside. Actually, this is coming in a little above budget, but it's pretty magnificent what we're talking about. So I know this has been a controversial topic, and we told you that it was going to be important to us, that we wanted to make this spectacular, and you know, so let's go ahead and talk now, if you don't mind. We got microphones and we're waiting. Yes, sir. Hi.
Mine might be a silly question.
No,
but there
no.
is such a thing as a wildlife friendly city. And one of the criteria in order to be designated as one is the number of parks you have and the size of the park.
Good.
The consultant, is he familiar with this designation? And does this fit into that scheme?
I appreciate it. Okay. I know, and if you guys don't mind for right now, I'd like to sort of stay on topic because this MLK pool has been an issue that I've been nervous about as your mayor. I know that the community's been nervous about, are we just going to let it sit there like it is? So if you don't mind, sir, I mean, maybe we can get to that after. I want to focus really on like improvements and suggestions from the audience. Yeah, in the back.
Oh,
Hi, ma'am.
I wanted to ask what the timeline is for the project.
Thank you. The hardest part of public projects is the money. And we have the money. And we have 4 park projects we're working on. Edison Park, which is moving, like I said, it's actually out to bid, under construction.
It has already been awarded, and they're starting construction at
Edison's moving. I see Councilman Emerson here, he's smiling. Councilman Emerson was actively involved in this, and it moved through. It's a smaller park too, okay? MLK Park has been tougher because this is a touchy issue. We're talking about something that the community is very proud of. We're talking about a park named after an amazing person, and we want to do it the right way. So we're being a little slower, but I guess to answer your question, ma'am, is we have the money. That's the good part. We might be a little bit short. In fact, I know we're a little bit short, but I like what we're looking at, and we want to keep it as much like this as possible. So I guess the long-winded answer to your question is it'll be under construction. It's safe to say this summer?
Yes, I would say
This summer. And it'll take probably 6 months at least, probably closer to a year. Safe? On this project, this seems like a pretty massive project. Edison Park's moving. We're hoping to get Edison Park done in 6 months, but that's literally 1/3 of the size of MLK Park. So it's a lot easier to take on Edison Park and get it done in the same summer than it is to take on MLK Park and get it done in one summer. I just don't think that's possible.
Mayor, once we get to a final design, I think the folks, Daryl and his team, have told us that it could probably go out to bid midsummer, and then hopefully construction late summer, and then be open early in the spring, summer next year.
Great, Kev. Okay, there's one thing that's different. I don't live in that neighborhood. I work in that neighborhood, and I spend a lot of hours there, and I know you guys see me coming and going. Crazy hours. You know, we have did you notice the little proposal where you pull off of Lyons and off of Highland, and there's little pull-off parking to drop off? Now, I want to make sure, and I got the chief of police sitting right next to me, that does not mean you can park your cars there if you live in the neighborhood. That does not mean your car stays there. This is a park, and it's a drop-off point. And I tell you, we're getting a little slippery with the parking over there around MLK Park, and I think we got to go through and re-sign it because you're not supposed to park on the park side, and that's a common problem in the MLK Park area. You're not supposed to park on the park side, and people do, and it's annoying because there'd be literally one car on the wrong side. So we're going to go through, and we're going to give people an area to drop off, and you can park on the other side of the street, but you can't park on the park side. And it's consistent throughout the city, and I know I see it a lot at MLK, and we're going to go re-sign it. That's my personal mission, to fix that problem over there. But we do have pull-offs, so that if you're going down Lyons, or if you're going down Highland, you want to swing somebody by the splash pad, you can literally pull off, drop them off, and then get back on. But that is not a permanent parking area. And Chief, I know I complain to you a lot about these types of situations.
Yeah, for example, on the Lion Street side, the street's just not wide enough if you park on both sides for opposing traffic to pass each other at the same time. So we get complaints from the neighbors. There might be one neighbor who does it if they have more than enough cars than to park in front if they're having a party or something. But it's not acceptable. It's a safety hazard for the children. And it is the local residents that call because nobody can get through there.
Right. Now, I realize sometimes we have big events at MLK Park, or we have big family get-togethers. I think in situations like that, we could deal with it if it's like an afternoon and you have like 150 people coming to a family reunion. I think in situations like that, we could all work together. I'm talking about on a Tuesday evening, there's one car on the wrong side of the street. That's the kind of stuff that we have to fix, and I think allowing these little pull-in areas will help us do that. So, questions, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So if we just didn't
Just
have
say.
parking, like you said, on the park side, so on the
Okay.
south side of Lions, or the north
Just a
north
clear
side of
no.
Highland, just no parking under no circumstance.
You agree, though, it's a problem, right, Paul?
Oh, I know it's a problem.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
had
It's
to go
annoying.
down through there and back up and go around.
I know. It's annoying.
And, it's something that I had suggested before, but it needs to be re-signed.
I see it all the time, as you
so that
know.
people understand it, and there's no parking on the park side.
Okay. I'm going to...
Mayor, if
Yes,
I
sir.
could say something.
Yeah, Councilman.
In regards to this project, there is some development on Tapper Street. If the architect or engineer can give us the plans for the parking on Tapper, that will give some clarity.
Sure.
as to-
Could we? Is there any way you could slow that video down and freeze it on that part? Because it's a real good view of it. If we could freeze it on the part where it shows Tapper, and we could show them the elevation, and we could show them, you know, how we hope to slow traffic down.
While we're
By the
waiting
way,
for
that video is outstanding. By the way, I've seen quite a few of these since I've been mayor. That is really good. I like that a lot. So,
Mayor,
yeah.
while we're waiting for that, one of the residents wanted to see if the company had some extra boards they could display here.
Sure.
At the Steen Center, so that
I want
the
to display
public
them
can
in
come
Hampton
and-
City Hall also. So could we get maybe a couple orders of that? We like to hang those up. And by the way, we should get those on Edison Park too. We have some old boards hanging up. We still have the Hessville Soccer Complex hanging up on the wall. I think it was done like a decade ago. So, all right, here we go. Yeah. Okay. There it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're doing.
I'll be Vanna. I don't have that long to reach, but.
So that's a crosswalk that we're gonna have on there, and right behind the crosswalk, because we have to make sure that we're ADA compliant for the roads, for the pedestrians crossing the road. So as soon as we get past that, we're gonna have a severe grade change on that. So when you're driving into the park, it's gonna be like you're coming up into an area, and you're gonna know that you're coming up into a park area, and say, well, you need to slow down.
It literally like raises you up a little.
Yes, so it's gonna be elevated on that, and then you're gonna.
And
come
this is all new parking in here too.
Yes, that'll all be new parking, and we're just gonna extend it on there, so there's not gonna be any difference with, the grades in there of when you're parking off to the side of the street, you're just gonna pull right out to the.
Think
end.
about it. That's a lot of parking. You know how many spaces is that? Do you know?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's gotta be almost 40, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's parking. That's new parking. So when we're talking about parking on the right side of Tapper and on Highland, it should be a lot easier with all this new parking we're opening.
And you can actually see up on the top right there, that is, we're planning on putting a couple of those in, is a
Oh, yeah.
pull-in, straight-in parking lot. Now, it's gonna be a little bit more than a drop-off over there. That's gonna be where people can come in and park and utilize the park.
How does that work, Chief, with the hours? Is that going to be dawn to dusk?
Dawn and dusk, just like every other park.
Just like every other park. So if we have cars parked overnight there, Hammond Police has got to do their job. This is not a permanent parking lot. This is for park use only.
Correct.
Right.
And we've got two parking lots like that we're planning on doing, and then closer to the shelter over by Columbia Avenue where you have a lot of family picnics.
Right.
We're talking about putting in a little bit bigger, like an actual true pull-in parking lot.
Those are where we'll get big family reunions and big parties on that part of the park.
So that'll help out quite a bit with the traffic.
Could you back up a little bit and show them that the basketball tree? I thought that was real cool. We sort of skimmed over that. There it is, right there. That's the idea right there. It's really cool. We saw with the round board around it, literally like little 4 or 5-year-olds would be shooting over here, and then Big Brother would be around over shooting on the other side. I thought it was really cool. We also have the basketball, like if you see in some of the baseball complexes, we have the little baseballs when you come in, like the sculpture, baseball sculpture. We're doing the same thing. I noticed them on it also. Yeah, there it is. Right, thank you. Okay, questions from the audience? Ms. Parrish, yeah, right behind you, Milo.
Dale Parrish, 1000 block of Lions.
Yes, sir.
So Tapper will not be closed down?
No, sir. We heard from you guys. There was a lot of pushback from the community. I'm not going to say that thought didn't cross my mind. It did. Right. Okay? But there was a lot of pushback initially on this issue, and we listened.
Okay, and on Lion Street, no parking on the side of the park?
Exactly.
Because I've been there
Yes, sir.
30, 40
I know.
years, and there's never been any signage that
I know.
said no parking.
You're right.
Until the last 3 or 4 years, people have stopped parking on
I know.
that side, which has made it inconvenient.
I got you.
So I agree, but as long as...
We'll sign it, I promise. And that's a great point. Gary, you in here? Where's Gary? Hey, could we get that thing signed up over there?
There's signs there now.
There is? Okay, because I know when you look at Berrien and Knickerbocker and you go to all these other parkways, you literally see it. And the thing is, sometimes, I'm not going to tell you, I live off Knickerbocker, And sometimes people park there. Sometimes it's like overwhelming and there's a whole bunch of people in the neighborhood and that's the only place to park. It's not like we're calling the cops when that happens. It happens once every 6 months. You're like, okay, maybe sometimes the event's so big that you have to park on both sides of Lions, right? And I agree, we shouldn't start off by saying that, but like in certain situations, you just got to understand, okay, we live next to a park, sometimes stuff like this happens, okay? And I'm very consistent on that rule. I get my own neighbors complaining about Little League teams using it, and I say, that's a park. And it's great living next to a park, but sometimes parks are really busy and you got to put up with the traffic. So, thank you, Ms. Parrish, I appreciate it. Questions? So to make that clear, what Dale's question was, is Tapper going to be shut down? No. And initially, we were thinking that way, but we reversed course. So I appreciate the question. Hey, Barry.
How's it going?
Good.
Barry Tyler, formerly of the 1100 block of Merrill, now the 6300 block of Forest. I just wanted to ask the question of if the park will be completely shut down once the construction starts,
Great
or
question.
will you do it in sections?
Great questions. Okay.
It all depends on how we phase it. And obviously, this is a very used park. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that, for example, Councilman Higgs has his 3-on-3 there every
Right.
summer. There's the, they have the different things that are going on. There's family reunions. So I think what'll happen is it's definitely going to be inconvenient for a season. I think that's without saying. The challenge for the park department and our consultants will be how we minimize that impact on the community, because it's kind of one of those things, either if you do it too slow, then it seems like it's never going to get done. So it's kind of like you either bite the bullet and get it done, or you decide to phase it in and it'll take longer, but it will allow more park access. So we're just going to have to make a decision
There's
on
certain
that.
parts of the park where it's going to be easier. You know,
Yep.
like the softball field part is very underutilized. So obviously that won't have a big impact, but I agree. When you have Councilman Higgs' 3-on-3 and you have other important issues, we should try to, we do other park projects realizing that there's functions and we're trying to minimize the impact on the community.
And
So-
Tapper Avenue probably will be closed for a period of time because during the construction of that. But the idea is to reopen it. There's obviously going to have to be closure of that street for a while.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Questions? Yes, sir. How's it going? We got one at the front here, man.
Thank you. How you doing? Garrick Alexander,
Hey, Garrick.
lifelong resident, 3rd District. My question is about safety as far
Yes,
as
sir.
the park is concerned.
Mhm.
I don't know when the last time this court has been redone. I don't know when the last time you've been out
Good
there.
question.
But this court is actually...
You're saying the current 2 courts?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, actually the court is currently dangerous to play on.
Okay.
The rims are hanging.
Uh-huh.
This looks like a beautiful...
So you're saying,
How
we're
we
just
gonna
going to fix
maintain
up the 3rd court and give you the new tree and then leave the other 2?
moving forward, how are we going to make sure we maintain this park to be a
Okay.
beautiful park?
Great question. Well, first off, are all the courts going to be resurfaced as part of this? Yes. Okay. So all the courts are going to be new, in new shape when we're done, new rims, everything, right? Okay. So your question is, 4 years down the road, what are we going to do to ensure? And that's more of a question. I wish Mark Hines was here. And Mark Hines loves being in events like this, but his son is graduating. He has a family issue right now that prevented him from coming. So I know your question. Believe me, we take care of our assets, and I totally agree. This is an important question, but that's true. Yeah. The 311 app, do you have that? That's Hammond 311 for those of you with smartphones. This is a great app. So if you saw like a busted rim, you could do it through our 311 app, and it would go right to Mark Hines' phone. And Mark.
Actually, I've been to a few park board meetings and brought up these issues.
Good.
About the rims hanging, about the courts being, I think they sealed the court maybe 2 years ago, but the court hasn't been redone. So you say.
Well, the court's about to be redone. That's a good news.
So you said about go to the app, then it'll move on.
Yeah, no, the app does everything. Graffiti, there's trash, potholes, everything. Crime tips. So, thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. Questions? Sir. How's it going? Good to see you.
Paul Marciniak.
Hi, Paul.
I live on Torrance in 4700 block.
Nice to meet you.
I'm interested in if whoever's choosing all the trees and the shrub layer and the ground layer.
Great question.
If they can be, a few of them be labeled, what the native ones that you put? And then,
I don't. That's my expertise.
Well,
I have people that do.
And some fruit tree guilds, maybe some apple areas, some
Okay,
pears.
great. So we want to talk.
Cherries.
Either Chris from Nice or
And-
somebody from Planning Resources could probably better answer this question than I can.
And when we talk about a fruit tree guild, Because the first thing we always have about fruit trees, oh, they get blight, they get disease. Well, if you do it properly with the ground layer being the allium family and the garlics and whatnot, and keep the wood chips there and the nitrogen fixers, if you do it properly, the fruit should be okay after
All right.
they're established. So let's look for some areas with some pears and
Love it.
apples and cherries.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, sir. Paul? Oh, you want to, is that, you noted it, or, yeah?
Yeah, just briefly, well, absolutely, we don't, at this point, we don't have a planting plan defined, it's conceptual, so we're taking these notes down, and we'll work with the city on that, of course, too, as far as what are they willing to set aside maintenance-wise for those types of things, but absolutely, we'll look at it.
Thank you.
You guys are from Wheaton, right?
Wheaton, Illinois.
There's a place called the Resiliency Institute, which is in Naperville.
Okay.
Cool.
And
All right.
they have all the information, everything about things like fruit tree gills and natural plantings like that.
All right.
Natives.
Thank you, guys.
Resource for you guys too.
Appreciate it.
It's called the Resiliency Institute, and it's.
See, mayor's night, you get gardening tips, everything. It's crazy. It's so educational. So thank you very much. Questions? Yeah, Mr. Buck, we got one right here. Marty? So,
Yeah, my question is in response to Mr. Alexander.
Mhm.
Even if they redo the courts and everything, we adults have to teach our young men, quit getting the garbage can, climbing up on the rims, sitting on them, pulling them down. Park department's not gonna replace that rim every month because these kids are pulling that rim down. They put them up there. I've chased plenty of kids from up there for their safety, not so much as the rim gonna be bent.
Okay.
But what did you
Thanks.
fall? Get off of that garbage can, quit hanging on that rim. That's what we gotta do.
okay.
If I could respond to that, just to enlighten the community, each councilman, district councilman gets allocated funds from the casino that is utilized for parks, sidewalk, infrastructure, that type of thing. And when I became councilman, one of the things that I did do is put playground equipment and asphalt and new basketball rims in MLK, as well as did some renovations in Memorial Park. But to make a long story short, the garbage cans, somehow or another, they're throwing the garbage cans on the basketball court, and somehow or another we need to make sure that those garbage cans are stabilized.
Thank you.
So that
That's a
they're
good
not
point.
moved around and
I think that's a good
able
idea.
to
Good idea.
get on the
Thank you.
rims and whatnot.
Okay.
So,
Could you guys mark that down? That's a real good point. Thank you. Thanks, Councilman. Questions? I appreciate everybody coming out. No, we got another one? I'm sorry. Hi.
Yes, I'm a little bit behind on things.
It's okay.
But is it?
Me too.
Has it definitely been decided that Maywood Park would not have a pool?
Yes,
No
ma'am.
pool?
No pool.
Okay, and where is the central pool supposed to be?
We're going to have one pool at Pulaski Park.
Pulaski Park?
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
even know where that is.
It's north, about 2 miles.
North?
Mm-hmm.
And just that one, a lot of our kids don't have transportation to get to a pool.
Mm. Yeah.
So are there any accommodations being considered for those kids that don't have transportation to get to a pool?
No, ma'am. Yeah, it's true. But, I mean, I think she's talking about outdoor public pools, but that is a good point. We do have a pool open 365 days a year. Yes, ma'am, at the Hammond Civic Center. Right now it's open, but thank you. Yeah, Ms. Herbert?
And there's also going to be a pool at Hammond High once they finish the new high school.
Yeah, there's going to be a new pool at Hammond High once the new high school is finished. I agree. The Y, thank you very much. Interesting, the Hammond YMCA over the last 4 years has given like 12,000 swim lessons. I didn't know that until we started this debate. So, yeah, the Hammond YMCA. Questions? All right, thank you very much. I think we got a lot of good input. Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss one? Oh, sorry about that. Hi.
All right, it was last minute.
It's okay.
How's it going, Tom?
Good to see you, sir.
The word unity was
Mhm.
used in that presentation. The word community was used in that presentation
Mhm.
multiple times. I find myself wondering, where's the opportunity for the community to actually come together and be part of building the park? Some examples might be opportunities to come together and maybe do a mosaic, like a tile mosaic or something on the side of a building.
It's interesting.
Something like that.
Yeah, I saw Valparaiso did something with one of their playgrounds out there, like what you said. It was called Valparaiso, wildly successful. The whole community got together, all the businesses donated, and they built a really nice playground. It's spectacular, actually. And since then, they've actually taken it a step further. So I think it's a really good point you bring up. I like it. It's a really good idea. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Just a comment.
No problem.
The equipment, the playground equipment, could it be more user friendly?
Yeah.
It seems to be like all that equipment is too heavy for young children.
Okay.
From
I know.
the ages of 7 to 12 or 13.
Okay, that's a
It
good
seems
point.
to
I
be
appreciate.
Inconvenient for them.
I think it's geared.
Mayor, so there's actually two parts to it, and I
Okay,
think either
thanks.
Bob or Daryl could talk to this,
Thank
but
you.
there's a younger kids area that, I don't want to get the ages wrong, 2 to 5 and then 5 to 12. Yeah, so there's actually two areas. So one will be geared up, Dale, to younger kids, really younger kids, toddlers to kindergarten, and then you got the grade school kids that'll have the other part of the park.
And then I know in China, the parks that they set up like this were geared more towards seniors. They were literally, see, that's where the seniors went. They would go like walk around a track, and then they'd have like a little workout area. And it was amazing how many people used it.
There's a couple pieces that Councilman Higgs and you, Mayor, that paid for to get into the park
Right.
that we're going to still be able to use that are the newer, two of the newer pieces.
Yeah, right. I know Frank Mervan's recently done something like this at Wicker Park. On the southwest exit, there's a little workout area over there. At Columbia Park, we have one right off Columbia Avenue. You can see the little workout area. So I think this is an area that we're trying to get into also. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Mr. Parrish.
And if I can add,
Sure.
I'm also looking at ways of renovating Harrison Park because it needs renovation. The trees are falling down. The residents are complaining about a number of things over there. The pavilion needs to be replaced. And I have been working with Mark, the superintendent of parks, on trying to come up with a plan. It floods over there. And of course, the mayor's the administrator over the city, and so his goal is to try to get MLK completed right now. So, but we are working, trying to get Harrison Park completed as well.
Thanks, Councilman. All right. Oh, is it? Okay. Last question.
Is there
Yes, ma'am.
any, I saw the plan, but is there anything in there that's going to have an enclosed area at all? My reason for asking that is that we have a lot of history in our community that we need some place to store it, to put it so that people can see it and enjoy
Right.
it. Families that are still here, you know, generations of stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
And we don't have any space here to
Right.
do it, although we're exploring the possibility of some expansion here as
Okay.
well.
But I can tell you in this plan, there's nothing enclosed like that. I know that the only real enclosed space in the whole thing is the restrooms located at the pavilion on the east end. Is that a fair statement?
Those are existing.
Yeah, they're existing, right?
Just to point out, Gene, to enlighten you, I was working with Ricky Durr before Ms. Durr got sick, and we were trying to do a Black History Museum, and I was trying to secure some funding to make that become a reality. However, for whatever reason, we didn't get enough community involvement to make this become a success. Certainly, if you have some individuals that's interested in making this move forward, I am more than willing to do whatever research or whatever is necessary to make this become a reality, because we do need to restore and have those type of things available in our community. So,
Okay. I want to thank everybody
historically.
for coming out for the MLK presentation. I'm going to kick this over into normal Mayor's Night Out now so that we can get into, and I want to remind you, Mayor's Night Out is initiated by questions. It looks like Donna's got about 10 of them or so in her hand right now. So let's say we go through a question. Now, if you, in the back room, I got Eva and Jill. Hi, guys, wave. If you guys have a question, please go back there. It asks you to write down your issue. It also has a place for your name. You don't have to put it. We like to do it so that we can follow up. But if you want to do anonymous, that's fine, okay? We read off your question. So let's say the question's about schools. We try to stay on topic. So let's say the original question's about schools. If you have a follow-up about schools, just raise your hand. We'll come up to you. But we try to keep it on topic. So when we get done with that, we'll go on to the next question, which may be about Carson Perry Scott or something like that. But try to stay on topic when we go between them, okay? Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and jump in, Donna.
Okay, Mayor, to start it off, a couple of questions about the Westlake Corridor project.
Okay.
Will the paved bike trail along Lyman and the overpass at 165th and Blaine be affected by the Westlake Corridor
Great
project?
question.
Are we going to lose these benefits
Thank
when
you.
the tracks are put in? There's two of those exact questions.
Really? That's great. I appreciate the question. No, actually, we made it very clear. When we built it, first off, we had NICTE's permission. We built it on their land. So they made sure that we weren't wasting our money, and the two can peacefully coexist. Africa, where are you? Hey, Africa. Africa is our representative to the Regional Development Authority. Africa, do you know any more about this that you could say publicly about this issue? Yeah. Oh, Dean. Sure. Go ahead.
Brian may have some insight, or Dean.
Well, so there is some effect as a result of the construction, but there will always be an eventual trail maintained through the process, and NICTE's committed to that, Mayor. So we're definitely going to have the trail. It may get shifted here or there as a result of the alignment.
Right. What about the bridge?
Bridge stays. No, no movement of the bridge at all.
Which is the important part.
Yeah.
That one cost us a little bit. So thank you.
And the bridge going into Munster may
Yeah.
get realigned
I heard that
slightly.
the train may use the bridge going into
That's
Munster.
true. They're using the abutments on
Yeah.
either side of the
Right.
river to land their bridge on, so ours will move either east or west.
Okay.
We're working on that.
If it gets funded, okay? Has to get approved first, all right? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Right here at 165th and Blaine.
Uh-huh.
Oh, can I just,
Yeah.
I'm pretty loud. On 165th and Blaine, you have houses on one side.
Yeah.
And then you have the overpass.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the cemetery. I
Mhm.
don't see where you're gonna put that.
Well,
Talking to the man who knows.
well, he's the city engineer. You're talking about NICTE.
Yeah, oh.
We're not gonna put it anywhere NICTE is, but when NICTE,
How will that fit without taking out the overpass? I don't see where it will go.
well, I mean, that's, I mean,
It's on the,
I was just asking for, if it's not gonna come down, what's the detail?
it'll be on the east side of the bridge, of the bike trail bridge, between the bridge and Blaine Street. No, there's no homes on that side of the street. On the east side of the bridge, the west side of Blaine Street. The overpass sets
The bike
back.
bridge.
The bike bridge sets
Right.
back away from Blaine.
Right.
So the tracks, they intend on putting
When we did
the
this,
train
ma'am-
on the west side, I'm sorry.
when we did this, they literally told us where we could put it. It's their right of way. Because they could have said, no, you can't even put the bike trail here. So if we put the bike trail, they literally showed us where we could put it. Because if it was up to me, I'd have put it more in the middle instead of right on the road like that, you know? But we did that because we have to peacefully coexist if the train process goes forward.
Well, yeah, it sounds crazy, but I wouldn't put it past them to tear down the overpass, so that's why I was asking.
If they do, that would not, I mean, obviously that's not great with us, but they would pay for it.
The reality of that, the project is so far away, it may not happen for another 10 years. That's not gonna happen real soon.
Okay. No, I appreciate the question, ma'am. And believe me, I've asked myself the same question numerous times because when we first built it, we're like, we're putting a lot of infrastructure in here. If this train happens a decade from now, I don't want to tear all this infrastructure out. And they said, as long as you stay where you are, you're going to be fine with us. And that's why we built it there on their property. So I appreciate the question. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, we do the mic for the audience watching on TV. I know you guys are loud.
I just want to piggyback on the bike trail question. As far as nighttime riding,
Yeah.
are you guys looking into adding any light? I know, like behind.
I think technically nighttime riding is illegal. Technically, Chief, is that true?
Well, there's a lot of illegal
Can you
riding
ride
out
on the bike
there.
trail past dusk, technically?
Legally, the bike trail is a linear parking.
Right.
So the answer's no.
Right.
So we're
So
not
technically, you're not
adding
supposed to,
light?
unless it's like a special event like Wham.
Oh, okay.
I don't really think it's something you guys really like, like chasing people down the bike trail, lights and siren, right? Little kid,
It wouldn't just be for bike riders because you have people that walk at night. And
No, I know.
For
Yeah.
safety
Yeah,
precautions.
you're right. And I appreciate that. Lighting up the bike trail is a great idea. I tell you, lighting up the cities, first off, it's expensive. Everybody wants it. Like, who doesn't want ornamental lights on their street in here, right? You just don't. So if we were going to do anything, we would do the streets first.
Okay.
And a lot of the street bleeds over onto the bike trail, typically. I go on our bike trail often, 1,000 miles a year. There's a couple parts where it's dark. But other than that, I I sort of do right after dark sometimes, but for the most part, I feel really safe on it all the time.
All right.
Yeah, but I appreciate the question. Actually, some of the worst parts are in Milan's area, the Port Authority. Right, Milan? Mm-hmm. You get on the north side of Wolf Lake on the bike trail, you feel real lonely over there. It's like if something happened over there, you're by yourself. Wicker Park, yeah. But at least in Wicker Park, you're in the city proper. You're surrounded by people. You're at Wolf Lake. It's like wilderness up there. And you're in the middle of it. So thanks for the questions. All right, let's move on.
Does NICTD close any of the streets north of 165th for the project?
Does NICTD close any streets north of 165th for this project? You agree, Brian? I agree. I don't think so.
Russell Street.
Russell Street?
Russell Street is one way it will close because, I'm sorry. Russell Street is one way eastbound now. There will be a cul-de-sac and we'll have to make that two-way because the approach, so the train is at grade at Douglas, right behind the federal courthouse. And then it starts up grade and stays up at grade until it
That's
crosses
right.
the Grand Cal.
Right.
So as it comes up,
So
it's
Russell
not,
Street will dead end right by the right by the county courthouse.
yes, sir.
Right.
It's not high enough to get a
Right.
car underneath
Gotcha.
at Russell.
So, all right, questions? Still talking South Shore. Last I heard, Africa, you could probably give us a better idea because Africa with South Shore, with our Regional Development Authority, they're really pushing this project hard. Have you heard the latest status on where we are?
The last time I spoke with someone, and actually I have a meeting tomorrow, the last time I spoke with someone, they said it's still going through the approval process. There's some things that they wanted to go over again to sort of fine tune.
And I know there's some people, this is their whole life. They talk about this every day of their life.
Most definitely.
Which I find very boring personally. There's a lot of things to talk about. I don't talk about this every day of my life. But I know something recently happened that wasn't awesome for the program. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was some type of scoring. Phil, do you know? Why don't you grab the microphone?
NICTD and RDA submitted their application for a ratings review, and that's the first step to getting the federal funding match. If you get a positive ratings review, you're in very good shape to potentially get the federal funding. In that process, they decided to pull back their application and deal with some concerns that they had, environmental concerns for this particular project. So I'm not sure if they've fixed those or corrected those and resubmitted it to date, but they have not received the positive ratings review at this time, so there's still a lot of steps to go.
And I know procedurally, President Trump, when he submitted his budget, did not have the capital investment grants in the budget. He zeroed it out. So there wouldn't be, not just in Northwest Indiana, nowhere in the country. Congress rebuilt these grants back into their budget. But there's even a question is President Trump going to try to just say this program goes away? I mean, it's possible. So, I think a little bit of what Councilman Higgs said is true. We've still got a long ways to go. Even if it's approved in 6 months from now, it's a couple-year process just to get things up and rolling before you're going to see. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Mic drop. Yeah. Yes, sir. You got to walk out after that one, Paul. That was good.
Hello. Yes. My name is Henry Clark, and this is a question. I don't know if we are in the right district or whatever.
That's
but
all right.
I noticed y'all closed the Sail Hotel, and y'all supposed to be closing the Jefferson.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering what type of plans that y'all have, for that area, because you displaced a lot of low-income people that couldn't afford housing.
Thank you. Good question. I'll go ahead. This is a tough issue in downtown Hammond because downtown Hammond, a lot of people in this room could tell me about downtown Hammond. I'm not going to have to tell you anything because you lived it, and I didn't, okay? But downtown Hammond back in the day was where you went shopping, you went to see a show, it was bustling, it was active, okay? I don't remember it that way. I'm 49 years old, and I remember downtown Hammond struggling, and it seems like over the years, it's a lot of status quo. If anything, it's decaying away. Now you start getting into it. Well, why is it decaying away? Part of the reason is its location, okay? It's weird that City Hall's not located in downtown. That makes downtown weaker. It does. Most thriving downtowns have City Hall in downtown. We don't in Hammond. That's nothing that we did. That's nothing even our grandparents or great-grandparents did. That was done in 1930 what, Brian? 30 what?
Between 31 and 35.
Thank you. 1931. Whoever the mayor was then made a big mistake, in my opinion. They built City Hall where it is now located, and we're doing well in our neighborhood, and we like being in our neighborhood, and the neighborhood likes us there. So if I thought the best thing to do to save downtown Hammond would be have City Hall in it, but how could I look you all in the face? You're good neighbors, you love us there, we love being there. If we leave, MLK Park, what goes there? We didn't have an answer for that. So I said, I can't, as mayor, say we're moving out of this neighborhood, I just can't do it. And we're sort of stuck. Okay, so now what do we do about downtown Hammond? So we already said City Hall is not there. It's not on a main drag off the highway. You have to get off a highway at Columbia and Calumet, and then you have to jog over from Calumet to Holman, which is inconvenient. And so you got that. Shopping is not the way it was back in the 40s and 50s, right? People used to go downtown Hammond. Now they go to the mall. And now they don't even go to the mall. Now Carson Prairie Scott's closing. And now we get it sent to our house, right? So we have a lot of things against us. And also, downtown, part of the problem is the homeless element, okay? So you want law offices to be there, you want doctor's offices to be there, and you also have these hotels that are catering to people that are just like hanging out and doing things that aren't conducive to a downtown. So it's a very complicated issue. We bought the LaSalle Hotel. It's something I wanted to do for a long time. The owner finally came around, and I think he wants to get out of the business, and he sold it to us. And we bought it, and we're actually talking to business right now about a business that's really respected business that's interested in being in that location, which would be great, okay? Jefferson Hotel, there's a plan for that area over there as well, all right? There's an offer that's gonna be coming to us shortly to try to buy our complex from us at Conkey, which is where we have, our public works department. They'd buy the whole complex from us. And it's a good deal for a business because this business wants to thrive and grow there. So if we did this, we have to relocate our employees somewhere. That's one of the areas we're looking at over there. But at the same time, we're sort of trying to, part of our problem in downtown is we have an element that makes people not feel safe. And we got to try to fix that. Yes, sir.
And that is the 2nd district, not the 3rd district.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mayor, I just wanted to mention, because there was a concern about the residents and how they were going to be relocated. Awana took it, I think, in her department, and she was able to, she could probably tell the story better than me about how she was able to place people and did a really good job on getting information out there for the residents.
In the LaSalle, we did place approximately 40 individuals. Those individuals, some had mental illness, some were really elderly people. But I was able to rehouse them out of the LaSalle Hotel into apartment buildings. Some went to Lake Station, some went to Miller Beach. It was a very difficult task for me, but I did get them all rehoused. I just got the list of individuals that's in the Jefferson, so I'm going to be talking to them the 27th of April. We're going to have a session at the Hammond Public Library, and we're going to get them all rehoused as well.
Thanks, Juana. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks. And since we're talking about downtown Hammond, there's something going on downtown that I'm very proud of as mayor. When I get done being mayor, there's gonna be some things I look back on I'm gonna be very proud of. And one of them is 18th Street Brewery, okay? These people are outstanding. They came to us, self-financed, they bought a building that was unproductive, they cleaned it. It's a beautiful inside of the building, and the food is top-notch. It's a great brewery. And I wanted to pass off to Ann Anderson, who is our head of economic development, so she could talk a little bit about what their plans are at 18th Street Brewery. So it's not like, I realize in some respects we're going backwards a little, but at the same time we're moving forward as well. So could you talk a little bit about 18th Street?
Absolutely. 18th Street sought us out a few years ago looking for a vacant building. We found them a great old industrial building that had been vacant for years and years and years, and they totally redone it.
They were storing cars there, if I remember right.
Really? It was a
Brian?
cold storage, I believe.
Like in multiple floors, they had like cars parked up in,
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Hold on.
And so they made a brewery and a brew pub. They do events there. They do walks and runs and a lot of great events there. They have now in the middle of opening a block north. It's called Sour Note Brewing.
At the old Firestone.
And another old vacant building.
Mm-hmm.
They're about halfway through their renovations there. And just a few months ago, they announced they will be opening up a distillery in their Oakley, Douglas Avenue, Oakley facility, expanding there. And they just punched out a big hole in the wall, and they're putting up bright windows, and they're going to be a distillery, first of its kind in the
That's
area.
great.
It's wonderful.
It's
They
really-
are just exploding.
You know, when I first took over as mayor, the First Baptist Church of Hammond was buying everything they could get their hands on in downtown Hammond. Now 18th Street Brewery's buying everything they can get their hands on in downtown Hammond. I mean, pretty soon the Baptist Church and 18th Street are going to be like neighbors, you know, buying everything up. So let's just sit back and get popcorn. That should be interesting. So, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. I appreciate very much whoever asked that.
Next up, Mayor, the new high school.
Yeah.
Will the city deed Harrison Park to the school city to build the new high school?
Good. I haven't been asked that. Originally, when this proposal came up, we were asked that if we'd be open-minded to it. We said we'd be open-minded to it, but at that time we were like, we're real interested to see what you have proposed. At that point, there hadn't even been a referendum passed. Last time we talked about that, that was the subject matter. I don't really think they're interested in that anymore. The backlash from the community is pretty harsh on that issue. Speaking of school city, I know that, you know, a lot of people get mad at the mayor because, you know, there's something going on, and it's just the way it is. I signed up for this, so don't feel bad for me. This referendum that was passed by the school city, I'm personally happy it passed. And it cost my family, just like it costs every family in this room, extra money. And we all got our tax bills last week, and we all saw our tax bills went up. And if you look at why it went up, it's not hard to understand why it went up. But, you know, when people start getting mad at the mayor and start calling us up because the school city referendum passed, I think it's sort of unfair. Okay, school city had a public election, and it overwhelmingly passed. I'm personally, even knowing what my bills are, I'm happy it passed. I think it's important for our community to have a thriving school city. So I'm personally happy, but I know that there's people that are upset because they got their tax bills and are like, what? Okay, I got it too, and I was shocked actually, but I'm glad it passed, and hopefully it's an investment, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure it's spent in the right way. And I want you to know, as your mayor, then the school city is communicating very well with us. And we're going to make sure that this is going to be an asset to our community, and it's going to help increase your home's value. And, you know, I know that they're going through a new superintendent search in the school city also. Dr. Watkins announced his retirement, and they're hoping to get this new superintendent on very soon. So, and they've been really good. The school city's been really good. And I think the city and the school city are getting along famously right now. We're working together closer than we ever have. So, you know, I'll keep you in tune as I hear more. Okay. All right, let's move on.
Mayor, is there currently any effort being made to increase the total number of trees in the city?
Dang, Mark is missing the wrong meeting. All right, yeah. Well, keep in mind before we talk about what we're doing, Hammond has been devastated over the last 5 years with the emerald ash borer. And I know I don't have to tell anybody in this room because MLK Park was one of the hardest hit. Pulaski Park was destroyed also, literally hundreds of trees between those two parks. So a lot of trees have been coming down. I'm very green. I believe in, you know, restoring our earth, and I believe in trees, and I love them. And I know Mark does too. In fact, we just talked about a new person coming into the city that's a tree specialist.
That's right, Mayor, and I definitely won't be able to answer this question as good as Mark would have. However, I have been involved along with Sharon Daniels and the Personnel Department and Mark in interviewing a forestry and ground specialist to help deal with trees and tree issues within the city. Two things the Park Department does with trees, and I know Gary knows this too, is one, there's a list of trees that are in public areas, like in the parkways. When you make a request to have a tree come down, that's one thing. And then secondly, of course, we have to deal with, as the mayor pointed out, the emerald ash borer. 89 trees in MLK Park had to come down. There's 101 in Harrison Park that have to come down because of the emerald ash borer. There were 80 some in Pulaski Park that came down 2 or 3 years ago.
When you cut these trees down, they're hollow. Yeah. You know, and it's no wonder they didn't fall down. They literally are, the emerald ash borer eats it from the inside out. And by the time we cut it down, it's just hollowed out.
There has been a group, though, that came and really all they requested from the Park Department was access to use the park board room a couple times and they are conservationists and naturalists, and they've been bringing new trees in at no cost to the city or low cost to the city, and they've been being planted, and they've been planting them. You might have noticed them along the Erie-Lackawanna, right between Hammond High and Eggers. They did a bunch of plantings last year. They're going to continue to do those more this year, and once the forestry position is filled, Mark will have a plan to start replenishing the trees around the city.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
When they cut those trees down, what happens to them after that? Where do they?
I think they're, good question, but we have to be careful because they're contaminated. Kev, you know? I really, Mark, if you're watching on Go Hammond TV, you really missed a great, Gary, thank you.
Actually, what happens is they're gone now. It's like the ash borer stops over, kills everything, and then they move on. They're not here.
Oh,
but
so
damage
you don't
is
see
done.
the bugs when you...
Well, they were here. We actually had a certain route we had to take when we'd cut them down, chip them, and remove them from the parks. We had a certain route to take them where we disposed, and then they knew they were.
You had special place you had to dispose.
Right, where we took them, they knew they were. We took a certain route, so we didn't kill everything on the way there too. And like Kevin was saying, they are already planting trees. Riverside has a bunch of trees. A lot of the parks are getting trees as they're coming down.
Great.
But like you said, Hammond's an older city. A lot of trees, not just from the ash borer, but they're just old trees. You know, they're cracking and breaking. Tim.
This guy was talking earlier about fruit trees and all that, man.
Right.
Cool.
Well, Timmy's been working in Harrison Park because they're
Everybody
just
likes
old.
fruit trees.
You know, just a light wind and they're breaking and falling down. And Tim's been cutting them up in there along with the contractor that's helping us with the bigger trees.
Okay.
So.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, Mylan?
Mayor, over 2 years ago, we took down over 200 trees in Forsyth Park.
Forsyth Park, 200
Forsyth
trees.
Park and the Parkway, right. But good news, this past Saturday, over 100 trees were planted at Lost Marsh.
See, there you go.
And every spring, roughly 30 to 40 trees are planted new in Forsyth Park to reforest.
Great. Thank you, Mylan.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
The comment
Oh.
to that,
Okay, yeah.
you've also cut down trees in the Lost Marsh area too. As a matter of fact, you cut down quite a bit this past week, which we didn't expect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
So
haven't
you
been out there
planted-
yet.
You
So.
planted 100 trees and you destroyed, 300, let's say.
Are we upside down like that, Mylan? I mean,
We took down trees, Mayor, for the expansion of Lost Marsh Estates, but it was
oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't.
That's true.
I don't think it was 300.
Good point. That's true. I didn't think about that. Good point, sir.
Hi, since we are, my name is Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Since we are on this subject of the environment now,
Sure.
The question was brought up earlier about wildlife. I'll try to phrase it in my
Uh-huh.
own way. As the city thinks about development, whether in the more urban areas or
Mhm.
parks and so forth, is there a way of attending to the welfare of wildlife and what the impact is on them?
That's a great question. I'm not sure personally, but I'm not a park expert. But I do know Hammond we have a lot of parks, and I'm proud of that. It's a great city. We have a lot of neighborhoods, and most of these neighborhoods have parks. I personally have noticed more coyotes and foxes than I've ever seen in my life in areas where I've never seen them before. So this hits home. There's a family of foxes that live in my neighborhood, and they eat the squirrels, so it makes me happy because the squirrels eat my house. So it's like nature playing out right in front of me. But I don't know, it's a good question. The theme of this so far is where the heck is Mark Heinz? Because there's a lot of questions he could have helped us with. Yes, sir. Oh, hi.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for asking.
Okay. I just have a concern. This is off topic. As far as I'm a lifelong citizen of Hammond, 800 block of Dracut, and I'm just curious as to there hasn't been any improvements on Calumet Avenue. No businesses coming in. So that's a major concern. And
Thank you.
When individuals want to come in, they want to come back home after college and work for the city or work in the city with the community. There's no type of incentive that you all aren't asking businesses to come in, and maybe an incentive for college graduates if they uphold a certain GPA and they can get a job. Because they want to come back home and help. Another thing too, like affordable housing. I know you're building like some housing over by the Lost Marsh, but as far as this neighborhood, people want to stay in nice living quarters. What's being done over here? I know it's the Renaissance and Turner Park, but where's the more updated housing for individuals who want to, live decent?
Good question. Okay, first off, when it comes to economic development, they go, believe me, if somebody came along and said, Mayor, I would like to build a $30 million complex on Conkey, we'd be like rolling out the red carpet. In fact, I'm talking about moving our employees off of Conkey because of a great opportunity for that whole area. Talking about things just like this. Usually when people approach the city, they're interested in locating on our southern or our northern border, close to Chicago or close to 8094. That's just the way it is. Every mile further into the city we can get these businesses to move is better for all of us, but it's exponentially harder each mile in. Even Woodmar Mall, what used to be Woodmar Mall, it's hard, and that's only a mile off of 8094, and it's hard to get businesses to locate there. So, every opportunity we get to develop, around the City Hall area, we got to take advantage of it. And we've had some success, We got a couple really good opportunities right now. Lear is probably the best example. Africa, do you mind talking about Lear a little bit, about how we had to work so hard on this?
Yes, I am going to talk about Lear, but I also wanted to touch on the businesses on Calumet Avenue.
Sure.
We've had a new business. We've had Zorbas come in, and we also have the former Kentucky Fried Chicken. We have someone that has purchased the building, and he will be opening up a juice bar slash internet cafe. So we're having small successes along the way. It is very true that the further into the city you get, the harder it is for development. We try to advertise the city in its entirety. Well, actually, we do advertise the city in its entirety. The challenge is that business owners a lot of times do want to be closer to the expressway, closer to a higher median income, closer to higher educational attainment levels. So those things drastically affect where they locate. Most of the times when they call us, they'll say, hey, I want to go here. I've had several heated discussions with people as far as, well, we have a facility here, we have space here, but businesses want to go where they want to go, and unfortunately, we can't continuously throw money at them if they don't want to come to an area because it's not by an expressway, because it's closer to the center of the city. So that is a challenge, but we are working to improve that corridor to increase the amount of commercial development that's taking place there. Also, with Lear, we worked very, very hard with Lear to keep them in the city of Hammond. That we worked with them for a few years back and forth, and now the success story we have to tell is that they'll be consolidating their operations. They are staying in the 3rd district, so I think it's important to note that they didn't leave from one part of the city to the other. One of the things that they were looking for was available space within the city, and so we went back and forth, and we really searched long and hard, and it was a lot of negotiating that went forth, but to their success, now they're building another building in the city of Hammond in the 3rd district.
The $35 million project?
It's over $30 million, and the price continuously keeps going with the more investment that goes play.
That's a big one. We lost that, and it came back to us. And for about a year, I thought I was going to have to tell you all that we lost Lear and it's going to move to Portage. And how we rallied and got this to come back to Hammond was huge. Okay, and the gentleman also asked a question about housing. A real good question. In fact, he pointed out a part of the city where I actually have good news to talk about. Before I took over as mayor, there was a housing development right off of Michigan, just west of Calumet. Michigan and Calumet, just west of it, called the Millennium. All right, Millennium Project. It was done under Mayor DeLo's administration. It was outside of the city, had its own not-for-profit, and they just stopped building houses. And then we took over, and we had our priorities like Parish View, and we had other priorities that we did for housing, run through United Neighborhoods Inc. Through United Neighborhoods Inc. And Dennis Radowski, I'd like to introduce. I know a lot of you know Dennis Radowski, to talk about a project that's been approached. We've been approached about a project in the 2nd district called the Millennium Housing Project to continue that project. Dennis, could you shed a little bit of light on this?
We were approached, excuse me, about 3 months ago, if not maybe a little bit longer, to obtain 15 vacant lots in the existing Millennium Manor housing area. Again, there's 13 existing homes there and an opportunity to build 15 additional houses.
What's the market value of those homes, you think, Dennis?
The market price right now?
Yeah.
I think the last
80?
one in that area sold, I think it was 210,000.
Nice.
But typically those houses were built at 165 to 180,000.
Which is a nice price point for
Right.
that.
And they're very well built homes. There are some issues in there, and we're currently doing due diligence on the land that the houses are to be built on. and the due diligence takes time. We want to ensure that we're going to build houses in a safe area, and we're going through that now, and if that does go through, we'll rapidly obtain, you know, the 15 lots and build. And I've got people right now who have inquired about building homes in that area.
Thanks, Dennis. And gentleman also brought up employment with the city, and I appreciate your question. We only hire Hammond residents. All right, and if I do hire an out-of-town person to come to work for the city, they have a certain number of months under city ordinance to move to Hammond, and we force them to do it. I've had people come in my office before, and they interview for a really good job, and they'll say, "Mayor, do I have to live in Hammond?" I say, "Yeah," and they're like, "But do I really have to live in Hammond?" I'm like, "I live in Hammond. What the hell is the matter with you, right?" I mean, this is insulting to me when people think that way. Like I said, if I was ever hired by Ford, I wouldn't go pulling in a BMW the very next day, the first day of working at Ford, right? I'd pull in a Ford, and I'd be like, I'm all in, right? If you come to work for the city, you got to be all in. You see these people up here? They live here. That's requirement number one, okay? So I appreciate the question, sir. Yes?
My name is Garrett Horn. I live
Hi.
on Waltham Street between State Line and Holman.
Okay.
I'm new to Hammond.
Welcome.
And I think that a question about the economic development, I know that when residents patronize businesses, it always works better for the community. You talk about being all in. Is there an effort in the city or amongst organizations to try to organize residents, some sort of buy Hammond
Good question.
type of effort or initiative that's going on?
Real good question. Thank you for asking. Funny enough, I read something in the paper that I don't think has been officially told to us yet. Has it, but Carson's? Has anybody received word from Carson's for sure that they're not? I haven't heard anything either. Usually if they're going to lay off people, they send letters to the mayor and stuff like that. I read in the paper that Carson's is liquidating, they're shutting down their stores. I can't control what they write in the newspaper. We haven't heard that affirmatively. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. In fact, it could be true, because I know they're going through bankruptcy. But the reason I bring this up is the fact that that store is still open goes back to this question this gentleman asked. I remember, 8 years ago, was it, when we did the rally? Longer? 10 years ago? There was talk about shutting down that store. This is crazy. The news came out. We had a Hammond rally in the parking lot of Carson Prairie Scott to save our store. And there was hundreds of people there. And then we all marched in. I bought a scarf. We all bought something, right? I still have that scarf, actually. It's really comfortable. Okay? But we did that, and honestly, that store kills it. And they had a really good rent. They had a really good rent deal. We're the landlord. They got a really good deal from us. But going back to what you said, sir, I love shopping in Hammond. I do it as much as possible, you know. But I can't control where somebody wants to open a store. If they say, I want to open Dick's Sporting Goods in Hammond, I'm like, hey, what about Conkey Street? And they say, no, I want to go someplace else. It's not like you say, oh, it's Conkey Street or nothing, buddy, right? They tell us where they want to be. And, you know, oftentimes they want to be in our high rent district, so to speak. They want to be south of 8094 so everybody could see them. If they want to be in an area like that, we usually don't have to participate financially. But if we want them to locate in an area we want them in, they expect us to help them, you know, with an incentive package to get them to go there. But I'm always looking, sir. I appreciate your question.
Mayor, if I could just add
Thanks,
one
Marty.
other thing. Anytime you do those incentive packages and the city is helping, the city also has a clause in there that they have to hire a certain percentage of Hammond residents. So that answers your question and the fact that the city is doing everything it can when it's bringing a business in to also include mandatory hiring of residents from the city.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it. Marty also moonlights on the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau. He was almost elected chairman one time. Almost.
Thank you for remembering.
I do remember. It was a highlighted. He comes into my office. He's like, hey, I almost was elected chairman today. And I'm like, why are you telling me that? It's like, you're telling me you almost, but I'm not. But I was really close. I'm like, all right. Thanks, Marty. So, question. Oh, let's go ahead and do the next one.
Okay, next up, Mayor, what is the process for property owners maintaining their property both in the front and back alley? Not sure exactly what the question is.
I tell you, code enforcement never gets away with not getting a question during Mayor's Night Out. Kelly's here on behalf of Jaime. Jaime's got some time off. They just had a birth of a daughter. So Kelly's covering for Jaime and for Kurt.
When we get Kurt's off sick, when we get a complaint on a property, rental or
owner occupied, typically what we'll do is tag it with a green tag, kind of a chartreuse, stands out. That lets the people know that they've got an issue that they have to take care of. They got 10 days to comply. Also lets whoever's complaining know that we're aware of the situation and have tagged that house. They can comply, or we issue a citation. If they get a citation, they'll get a court date. If they comply and clean up what needs to be cleaned up, cut the grass, maintain it, then typically they won't have to come to court. We may put property on supervision in case the situation happens again. That way we won't have to issue another citation. We are very cooperative when it comes to maintaining the properties, but if you don't take care of it,
What do you mean on that? You're like, if it's maybe a senior that's been there a long time, we try to work with them.
Exactly.
We're not like citing them right off the bat.
No, we really do take a lot of patience, and but it comes a time where we have to do something.
Of course.
It also takes us a month to get a citation. in
Because the
court.
only way you know about it is somebody complains about it, right?
Typically, and the inspectors are very good about driving their routes, driving their districts, and finding the properties. A lot of times we'll have a neighbor cutting the front lawn and not cutting the back. And then the back's 6 foot tall, you see it growing over the fence, or they get a complaint, or they get tired of cutting it, and then it becomes an issue. We hire the contractors, and with a court order, put them on the property, maintain it, cut it. They'll cut it through the season up until about the middle of October. Then twice a year we record it with the county, record the cost of the contractors, and put it on the property taxes.
Okay. One of the things that I see as mayor that a lot of residents don't get to see is how close that Kelly works with the Hammond Police Department. Our code enforcement and inspections department works arm in arm with the Hammond Police Department and the Hammond Fire Department for all that matter. If they see things during the course of their business that we need to know about, they've gotten really good about communicating with each other, which is something I take pride in because that's my whole job, is to get all these people you see in front of you talking to each other. Because police may see something that code needs to know about, but if Kelly and Chief don't talk to each other, the other one doesn't find out about it. And that's one thing we've gotten really good at, is communicating with each other and sharing knowledge so that, you know,
Public Works too, Mayor.
Yeah.
They're
absolutely
interchangeable.
Yeah, Public Works is in every alley every day, you know, and they see things that we need to know about. So, hey, you know, I forgot to mention somebody. I see her out there. There was an election that took place in May where a young lady lives in the 3rd District, ran for an office being vacated by State Representative Linda Lawson. And Carolyn Jackson has such respect from the community, she puts her name on the ballot. And not only did no Republicans run against her in November, but no Democrats ran against her either, which means Carolyn Jackson is going to be our next state representative. So congratulations, Ms. Jackson. Good to see you. Looking forward to calling you representative. So nice to see you. Thanks, Carolyn. So, all right, let's keep going.
Mayor, between Porter and Wallace Road is a mess.
Between what?
Porter and Wallace Road, if I recall, that might be railroad property. Can someone find out who owns it and clean it up? It's filled with rodents and trash.
Okay, before I give the microphone off to probably Tim, could you grab a microphone also? I want to have Chris do a quick commercial about Hammond 311. So Chris, can you go ahead and talk about this system and how great it is? Because this is a perfect example of stuff you could put through 311. I'm going to tell you how to take cuts. Do 311. You go to the front of the line. So like if you do it through your phone, you know, and a lot of times people wait till mayor's night, God bless you. A lot of times people do it by letter. I know Councilman sends a lot of letters to people. Going through 311 circumvents all that, and it goes right to the person. So if you did a Hammond 311 complaint, you can take a picture of it, and it'll go right to Gary, or it'll go right to Tim, and they get it first thing in the morning. So I did your commercial for you.
Yeah, there's your commercial. Thanks.
You like it?
Yeah,
Thank
perfect.
you. You did a great job. I appreciate it.
You too, sir.
Thank you. All right, Tim, why don't we go ahead and talk about...
Yeah, what we usually do, Mayor, is get a hold of Kelly, code enforcement, and he'll give him a citation. He'll find out who owns the property, and they'll let us know when to clean it up.
I see you all the time driving around the 3rd District.
Yeah.
That's what you do, right?
That's what I do.
And
yeah.
you're responsible for all garbage, you know.
All
if you run into code issues, you have a good enough relationship to call Kelly up and tell him about it, right?
Yes.
Or call Jaime,
yes.
right?
Yes. First thing we do when we have issues like that, problems like that, we call Kelly, and he gives us the okay to get it, you know, or not, you know. So.
I literally drive around the city, and I'm really fast at it. You could do these complaints through 311. I'll do sometimes 3 in a day. And I fire it off. I used to do it anonymously to test it. Now I don't. I just send it off as the mayor now. But it works both ways. So.
Yeah, we just can't go on private property without an okay.
Gotcha.
You know, we can't
Makes
do
sense.
it.
So I don't want to get in trouble. Right. Anybody have a follow-up? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just
down that's on Wallace Road. What happened? It's been down for
Is it in the, it's in the right of way? It's on the road?
No, it's not on the road. It's kind of, I guess it's private property. But I see kids playing on that tree or whatever, and it's kind of dangerous there.
Right.
So, I don't know who owns the property or what.
Yes, sir. Hey, it's okay.
That's in a vacant lot, correct? The back lot? We see that once we get a contractor out there, we'll have to get the court order for the tree too. The tree's actually laying down, so we're not in a big rush. It's not as, if it's a safety issue at this point, other than the kids playing on it. It'll be cut as soon as we get the contractors going.
Mayor, if I can, me and the engineer went through the 3rd district and identified some areas within the district that needed to actually have the trees removed. And we submitted a list, and so hopefully those trees will be removed. One is on Kenwood, a property at 936 Conkey has been vacant for 10 years. It needs to be demoed. There's also a property near Holman Avenue that they're storing tires behind a greenhouse. There are a number of trees that we identified, and we submitted a letter to your department. So
All right, thank
they're
you,
working on
Councilman.
it.
All right, any other questions? Let's move on, Donna.
Okay, Mayor, did someone miss this? The Pullman District turned 100 years old in 2017 and there was no recognition.
I must have missed it. Brian Poland, what's going on with that? By the way, yeah, right? Hey, April 21st is Hammond's birthday.
Yes, 134.
134 on April 21st, so 3 days. Don't forget to wish Hammond birthday. Brian, what happened with Pullman?
I don't know.
Dropped the ball.
I think we'll have to wish them a belated birthday.
Yeah, really? All right. It was 100th anniversary?
Yeah,
Brian is Hammond's historical guy.
Yeah.
Self-designated.
Yeah, my memory's failing. So,
right.
yeah.
So, sorry about that. Yes, ma'am. We could sing happy birthday.
Well, I think a lot of it is, working with the neighborhood and see if there's something that we can put together. And so if you want to talk about it, we certainly can do that.
Thank you. April 21st is coming up, so don't forget. 3 days from now. So, all right. Donna.
Okay, Mayor, I would like to have the same opportunities provided to me as the homeowner, as other homeowners in Hammond, for the roofing program. When Gary Judas removed me from the list because my home was built in '78, he said it's because he assumed it had lead paint. No roofs have ever been done in this program once he says that. What can be done to make this program fair for all with HUD-eligible families without a cap set leaving them out?
Who wants to take this?
I can take it.
Luana? Okay. Hi, Luana. You administer a program, right?
Huh.
That's administered through the CDBG money?
Exactly.
Okay.
I
And by the way, let's put it in perspective, Luana. The number of roofs that need to be repaired is probably up here, and the amount of money you get is down here.
Exactly.
So you literally, it's an impossible job. You get to pick 1 or 2 people,
Exactly.
and you say no to 100 people.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. I have a very difficult job because I've been community development director for about 10 years, and the funds that we used to get were in excess of probably about $3 million. Currently, for CDBG, there's about 1.5 or $6 million. So, as the mayor said, the need is way up here, but the funds are way down here. And I do my best to try to spread the funds across the city in relation to rehab, in relation to public services, homelessness. There's a lot of need in our city. When it comes down to the roof program, our roof program is a forgivable loan program. And what that means is you have to stay in the house, and if you move, unfortunately you pass away, or you rent the house, you have to pay those funds back. Each roof has been designated under our guidelines to $10,500. Our housing stock, we talked about this in a meeting, our housing stock in the city is very old. I was born in '71, and I know all these houses were here before I was here. And if your house was built before 1978, there may be some presence of lead-based paint. Back in the day, we used to be able to assist those individual homes and do the remediation, but now, because the funding is just not there, we cannot go into those homes. If there's a house and that we come across that is in need of a roof, we have to do a risk assessment. Those risk assessments cost a lot of money, a lot of money that we don't have. If your soffit and fascia is covered in paint, peeling paint, there may be some presence of lead-based paint, and we have to take precautions in that area. So unfortunately, the funds that I were able to put into that program is only $50,000, and as I stated earlier, there's only, each house is designated for $10,500. So if you think about it, we may be only able to do 4 or 5 houses when we used to be able to do a whole lot more. So the funds are just not there to do.
They started, CDBG money got shrunk during George W. Bush's years. During Obama years, they didn't grow, not because President Obama didn't want them to grow, because Congress didn't allow them to grow. And now with Donald Trump in the White House, like, what was that saying again, Paul? We just gotta get through.
I've never heard of a woman named Catherine Austin Fitz.
Yes, sir.
And she's a forensic economist. And she is the last number I heard out of her is that somehow the federal government lost $21 trillion in the past 18 years.
No.
Lost it. Unaccounted for. Ooh.
No. Thank you, sir.
So, when we start talking about lack of funding, let's go up the chain.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, let's go ahead.
Mayor, a little earlier we talked about the parking issue around Martin Luther King Park.
Yeah.
The area that was Steve's Pharmacy, can that be turned into public parking or used
good
for
question.
family gatherings? Can it be resurfaced and detailed?
That's a great question. Did we look at that? You know where that, on Highland and
Columbia. Yeah, actually, interestingly enough, I know Phil was part of this discussion. We talked about, and we were wondering out loud with Mark Hines at the Park Department on whether or not the community would want that or not want that.
That's a
So we'll definitely try to
we
get
have
some
that
input.
option for sure. If parking's still a situation, when we unveil a new park, we have that opportunity. Unless something comes along. But great point. Appreciate it. Next question.
Complete.
Really? All right, I'm going to go around the table. I know, my department head's about to run out the door. I got bad news for him. We're going to go through. I want to make sure there's a couple things going on. I want to make sure. First off, I want to look at legal aid. Who doesn't get asked a lot of questions during Mayor's Night? Chris Sacaleras. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
That's because everybody comes to our office.
That's right, that's right.
They don't want to share.
About where your new office is located?
Our new office is in the Hammond Housing Authority building, 14.
You guys are actually in there now, right?
We're in there now,
Nice.
finally. 1402, and our sign just went up, 173rd. To qualify for our services, you have to live in the city for the previous 9 months and meet the federal poverty guidelines at 160%. We do all civil work, no criminal work. We take your case from start to finish. We usually help between 250 and 300 people a year.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Good
if you
job.
have any questions or you need information, you can see me after.
All right. Pass it over to Sharon Daniels. She wants to talk about College Bound. We're going around doing our College Bound tours right now.
Yes, we are, and tomorrow we will be at Morton in the afternoon, and then we have Hammond High and Gavitt coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And then we're done.
And then we are done for the
Yes.
year, and that's when I get busy. The
Yep.
College Bound deadline, hard and fast, July 6th. Applications have to be in and completed by July 6th.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Heather, City Controller. Just making sure. Everything all right? The City Controller?
Everything's all right. I think some of our departments are going to be really happy soon with our Guaranteed Energy Savings Program. You will be seeing a brand new fleet throughout the city, police cars, snow plows. I think our Public Works Department, I just got a text from Gary doing a happy dance because he got 2 new plows today and 2 plows yesterday, and the police will be getting an additional 40 frontline vehicles in the next couple months here, and so in the next 4 years, every city vehicle will go through this new rotation, and you'll see a brand new fuel-efficient alternative fuel fleet in the city.
That's great. Thank you very much. Chief of Police, Chief Jody.
We're very excited about that and want to thank the mayor and Heather for working so diligently on that program and getting us the funding for that. It is going to cut our budget by 2/3 on fuel, which is over $1 million, and it's going to save the city and the taxpayers of Hammond a lot of money. The mayor was looking at downtown Hammond, and he asked us what we needed to do and what we might be able to do to help that area. And we always need an increased police presence in an area that you're trying to develop. So we had an idea to put the new Hammond Police Garage down there, and it's fleet services. We're one of the few cities that are large enough to actually maintain our own fleet with our own mechanics. And our mechanics are becoming Ford certified. We're even going to be doing our own warranty work, which will save you even more money. But the exciting part is we have just a couple days ago moved to downtown Hammond, right across from Harrison Park, behind the sub-hub. The city bought the entire building. It's been completely renovated. When you walk in there, it's like walking into a Webb Ford service area. Very professional building, very professionally run, and squad cars will be coming and going through there all the time, all hours of the day and night now, thanks to this new location.
And as a result, thank you very much, Chief. I noticed, I've been mayor a long time. I notice every time the chief of police says something, everybody starts clapping when it gets done. So, one of the cool things about that project is the police garage that they're currently in on Lyons and Calumet, across the street from City Hall, just to the north of City Hall, will be coming down shortly after. That building has been built. It was built by history guy. I want to say 1921. Oh, sure. The student? What? Really? Come on, Brian. You're slipping.
It just had a birthday.
Yeah. It just had a birthday. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, Paul, when was it? Good question. It'll be flat for a while. There's no plan, but the plan is to get it down and evaluate. Maybe it's parking one day. Maybe we do some economic development over there, but get it down first. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Mr. Golick, how's it going? Clerk Golick. When was that built, Bob? Do you know? When was that built? Do you know, the police garage? Hey, you know you're standing next to a guy that was almost elected chairman of the South Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau?
We're good friends.
Mayor, I'd like to remind everyone about voting.
Yes, sir.
On May 8th.
Thank
and
you.
The early voting is open already at the satellites on Russell Street. There's also at the Wicker Park, it's open. And the sample ballot is in City Hall in the vestibule, which is located on the east side of the City Hall. As you walk up the stairs, walk in there, a sample ballot is posted for those who would like to look at it.
Thanks, Clerk
Thank
Golick.
you, Mayor.
We appreciate it, sir. So, we had a question right in front of you, Marty. Before I kick over, I'm going to close out with Tim Woods. I want everybody to...
Mayor, I don't know if this is the right time.
It's okay.
Since we're talking about streets.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do we have the street sweepers coming by, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, in a month's time, and we never know when they're coming?
Good question.
And they're even out there in the rain.
Yeah.
Driving down the street.
You know what?
Wasting taxpayers' money.
I like it when Gary Gleason's put on a spot. It makes my day, man. And he's sitting right behind you. Gary, why do we do that?
Well, I can explain the seasons we've had right now.
True.
I've never had sweepers out in March, and we run them. But the best thing, I'm an ex-sweeper driver. There's nothing better than rain. We don't have to stop, fill up with water. They get dusty. Oh, they're terrible inside those. So when it's raining, it's a sweeper driver's dream. Trying to post it, it's not going to work. If we tried it before, we say, okay, we're going to come tomorrow, and it could be snowing out there where we're in here right now. You know, and I had sweepers out today.
Right.
And so you tell people to move the cars, they don't. Well, then they get mad, and we don't want to tow them. We've tried it before. We have a couple of times. It doesn't work. But that's kind of a privilege right now, I guess, to have the sweepers out this early. Thank Heather again, because she got us all new ones. So the guys are happy, and why let them set? If it's warm enough to run them, we're going to run them. So.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. Councilman Higgs has something, and I'm going to go to Tim. So.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Barbara Bush, our former president's wife, passed away, so keep their family in your prayers.
All flags in the city are at half-mast until Monday, in accordance with the president's orders on that. Thank you very much, Councilman. Last, I wanted to make sure everybody knew Tim Woods, who's your 3rd District inspector, or not inspector, head of Public Works in the 3rd District. He's very easily accessible. Tim?
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And I'll try to do the best job I can do, you know. All you gotta do is let me know what you need, and I'll try to do it. But If you don't let me know, I don't know.
And your
So
car
just
is
let me know.
clearly marked, right, Tim? I mean, 3rd District Inspector on the side, or 3rd District Supervisor, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you have residents come up to your car a lot? and just-
A lot. And most of them got my telephone number, right,
Good.
Ms. Coles?
Good.
Most of them got my telephone number.
Good. So his whole job is to be stopped by you all. So stop him, tell him what we have to do. So thank you, everybody, for coming out to Mayor's Night Out in the 3rd District. It was a very good one. Thank you very much to all of our people that did the presentation. Thank you.